I have been trying to get faster at drawing for so many years now, and it didn't really come to me until a year ago because I got to finally crack the code. How can I trick my brain to be able to draw faster without reducing the quality of my painting? So in this video, I'm gonna let you know on all of the tricks that I use to become super fast at drawing. I have become so fast at drawing that I can spend one day drawing and then finish it on time, not late into the night. I can just finish one painting and also do other things at the same time in one day. And that is what you're gonna be able to do if you actually take all of my advices and really implement them in those drawing sessions that you have. So the first thing that I paid attention to and was feeding into my drawing was the amount of energy that I had. Instead of just looking at my time, I started looking at the amount of energy that I have for each and every session of drawing. So I started to not work long hours and just take a break whenever I feel like I am in a state of fatigue. So for example, if you're starting to draw and then you feel like you're not having as much creative ideas in your head as you had when you started, then it's probably a good reason for you to take a break and then go do whatever you want. Like do other things that is of priority to you. Maybe you want to spend time cooking, maybe you want to spend time writing, maybe you want to spend time editing something. I don't know, whatever is in your schedule, do that. And then come back to your drawing with a very refreshed mindset. Because then you had so many varieties of stimulus and so many parts of your brain now is active. And in that state, what happens is that your sources of ideas began to expand. And when that happens, you're gonna be flooded by ideas. And one of the most important reasons that you waste time is the lack of ideas, because you're always just searching for ideas to correct your painting or to lead your painting into the ideal painting that you want. When you don't have any idea, that is when you are gonna be wasting time and you're not gonna be as productive as when you actually take a break to refresh your mindset and you just feed yourself with ideas and then come back to it. And once I figured that my energy is what I need to pay attention to instead of my time, every problem that I had just started to solve itself. I started to work on the actual time that I spent on drawing and moving it forward, not the time that I think that I'm drawing. So that means that I am actually being productive by putting in less time. You have to apply this 80-20% sort of rule. So 80% of your progress is just gonna come out of those 20% of your time. So it means that only 20% of your effort is gonna be leading to any kind of progress. So why not just do that 20% and just forgo all the 80% of waste that you're putting into that painting and it's not leading you to anywhere. So the first thing that you have to implement is this: just do what is actually moving the needle. Don't do the unnecessary stuff that just makes you feel productive, because it's the opposite of productivity. You're just wasting a lot of energy and time on something that doesn't even work, and it's just fooling yourself. If you don't have enough energy, you're not gonna be finishing your drawing productively, and so go take a break, do something else, do something more energizing, do something that requires a different creativity muscle in your brain. So it could be cooking, writing, as I mentioned before, and anything else that you do that seems to be creative. By the way, that is not only for painting or drawing. That is for everything else. Everything that you do, you should apply this rule. Otherwise, you're just wasting a ton of your time. You're literally wasting 80% of your time. So don't forget about this. And then once you get this out of the way and you have applied it, you have to listen carefully to what I say next, because it's the foundation of drawing overall. Because if you really apply this practice that I'm about to tell you and you do it once a day in a span of a month, then your drawing is going to be improved. It all depends on whether or not you implement it. So So the first step of this is just paying attention to your behavior when you're drawing. When you're drawing, you have to move your hand entirely, not just your wrist, not just your fingers. You have to move it entirely by the shoulder. And I'm guessing that you actually do this if you're a beginner. If you're moving your wrist only, then you should start doing this practice more often. This practice requires just using your entire arm, like by the shoulder. You have that bigger movement, so it takes less time because it's more energy. You're leveraging off of your shoulder instead of your wrist, and your shoulder has wider range of movement so that it takes less time for it to complete one line. And that is how you improve your painting, by working on each and every line. So you have to really take it from the basic, really make everything right from the foundation, not just being caught up on the details of it. Really dig deeper. Just take out your notebook and write down every tip that I give you from this point onwards, because it's the most important and practical part of this video. You need to start drawing circles. Instead of just sitting at your desk and drawing forever, just stand up and start drawing by the entire shoulder. You're allowing your entire shoulder to move, and you're getting yourself into the habit of moving your entire arm, not just your wrist. So you need to draw a lot of circles, a lot. Like, no matter what it looks like, just draw them. Don't make them perfect, just draw circles, but try to move your entire arm. Your circles are gonna be so accurate because your entire arm moves in a circular way, and so by default it's gonna be a very perfect circle. Once a day, stand up at your desk and move your entire shoulder to draw a lot of circles. And then over time, you're gonna get into the habit of drawing by your entire arm. It's just gonna happen by default. And pay attention. You need to do all of your practices at the start when you're starting out by picking up a pen, not a pencil, not something that can be reversed. You have to make the process so irreversible so that you're not thinking about erasing. You're just thinking about what you can do to improve your painting at that time. That's really important. Like, you need to stop drawing with a pencil. Just pick up a pen. You're gonna become faster in no time because now you're adopting the habit of not thinking twice about your choice. You just make a choice and run with it. And I want to tell you a story about myself. I did not draw with pen in the beginning because nobody told me to. I thought to myself, I am doing the right thing. I am drawing with pencil and I'm erasing it, and it's such a good thing because I get to be perfect in my drawing. But that actually did take me a lot of time. All of my drawing took me around like an entire day to complete, and if it was like a very big drawing, then it would take an entire week to complete. And then I got into the loop of just wasting a lot of time but really fussing over the details of it, which really comes when you have the capacity to erase your mistakes. So remove that capacity by drawing with pen. And I picked up the pen and then I started drawing, and believe it or not, I came across this other method, which is like just drawing with a lot of lines and picking the right line to go with and just going over that right line, if it does make any sense. I mean, it really helped me to get better shapes out of my drawing because I used this pen that had the quality to it that could be more loose, and so my lines would be just so loose and so invisible to the eyes, but I would just pick the right line and go with it, and it would not need any kind of erasing. So that really lowered the bar for getting into the game of not erasing and just using the pen, which makes you 10x faster in drawing. So get ready for the next one, which is the most important one, and you can see it in my drawings right now. One thing that I did to reduce the amount of time that I spent on one drawing and to not be caught up in the detail of it, to not make a big fuss about going through it over and over and adding more details, was reducing my style from realism to cartoonism. Like, I would just cartoonize everything. Is that cartoonism? I don't know if that is the right word, to be honest, but I reduced it to the basic elements, which is like when you're drawing a cartoon of a character. So when you're drawing in a cartoon style, you're not adding a lot of details, which gives you a lot of time just to make the painting better, not to just like add a lot of unnecessary details. And it puts you into a habit of just seeing the basic element of it and really honing that. But I guess like it works for artists that are in illustration and all of that, but like it doesn't really work for realistic artists. But I think if you just put this into practice, it can also work for realism as well. When you practice not adding so much details to it and really just paying attention to the basic of your drawing, that opens up your mind so that you're faster at catching the essence of it. And something else that is entirely personal, but I think that other artists also do, is listening to something. If you're listening to podcasts while you're drawing, then you should pick the right podcast. Because if you're listening to something that is not in the creative sort of vibe, then if anything, it's distracting you and it's not giving you that creative energy. So you have to listen to something more creative. And it shouldn't be distracting. If you're noticing that you're being distracted by it, then it's probably better to just listen to something calmer and give yourself time to actually focus on your painting. And that was it. I hope that you implement all of the tips that I gave you, and I hope that I can see you in the next video. Have a nice week.